This doesn't make any kind of sense. Standing tall at 7'1" and moving like a guard, we have the incredible Alexander Sarr. Keep your eyes on this guy, he's something special. And then there's Tijan Salon, who boasts a frame eerily similar to the legendary Kevin Durant, one of the most versatile and dynamic players in today's NBA. But hold on, the excitement doesn't stop there. According to many, the crown for the best athlete in this draft belongs to someone else entirely. Ron Holland, folks, is the epitome of elite athleticism. I'm not exaggerating when I say he might just be the most athletic prospect in this entire draft.
Ron Holland.
But that's just one of his strengths. From averaging 4.5 points per game in his freshman year of high school to becoming one of the most highly rated prospects in the world, Holland has shown a progression without many precedents. But will he be able to translate his game to the NBA? Can he continue to stand out with his athleticism in the most athletically demanding league in the world? What is his best case scenario? And his worst? Well, let's talk about it. You only need to watch a short clip to understand why Ron Holland is in the top 10 of most mock drafts. And let me tell you folks, the excitement doesn't end there. Some experts project him to go in the first half of the lottery, while others see him dropping as low as pick 20. But that's exactly what makes this draft so special. There are no sure bets. This year, it's a wild ride where top 5 prospects could slip out of the lottery and dark horses might break into those coveted spots. But within this situation of uncertainty, there's one really special player. Ron Holland has the skills and talent to become one of the best two-way players in this draft.
Almanza steals it, triggers the break. Here goes Holland! Throwing it down with 2 hands.
In fact, he's one of the few players whose ceiling, at best, could be that of a borderline all-star. At 6'8" and 205 pounds, Ron has a more usual frame with respect to classic basketball, something that feels even weird considering the profiles of the players that are coming lately to the league. Ron Holland is probably the best slasher in the draft. His leaping ability combined with his deep bag of finishing moves makes him a tremendously dangerous player on drives. And best of all, he's quick enough to get past his opponents in a variety of ways. Handoffs are a popular NBA play these days for superstars like Tyrese Maxey, who's an excellent driver, and Ron takes advantage of that. But he can also get by his defender in ISO situations. He can split defenses with his good handles and intuition. Holland is tremendously quick and has an incredible first step. He's not afraid of physical contact. In fact, he looks for it. It's not uncommon to see Ron finish in traffic better than any other player in his class. The stats don't lie, and Holland has scored 66.3% of his shots from the restricted area. He's an elite finisher. As you can imagine, a player like that is tremendously powerful in the open floor. It's very difficult to stop him in transition because he runs faster and jumps higher than virtually every defender on the court. And this is something he abuses time and time again. When he's not crashing the boards, which by the way he's good at, Holland is running to the other side of the court to get the easiest basket of the game. And in the modern NBA, transition is a viable scoring method for the league's best stars. Ron's capable of creating his own shot, although he's far from elite in this regard. It's common to see him using the catch and shoot, but also sometimes we can see him create after the dribble. On Ignite, 83% of his three-pointers came after assists, a huge percentage compared with the 55% of two-point shots that he scored without assisting.
Confidence, belief in yourself, belief in everything that's being put around you is for the greater good. Ron has shown to prove that he's that guy, is that his growth from
his form is pretty clean, but most importantly, it looks effortless. Although not perfect, he has the right traits to suggest he could be a player with a good progression in his outside shooting. Ron doesn't use the mid-range too much, having shot only 4% of his shots from there, but with his handles, in the best case scenario, we could see him being a threat from all 3 levels. As a passer, Holland isn't bad. He has good instincts for finding the open man when he's in his field of vision, and his handles allow him to generate advantages that he'll eventually learn to exploit not only for himself, but also for his teammates. His assist-to-turnover ratio in Ignite hasn't been outstanding at 1.07. Even so, his defensive potential is huge. Obviously, he has the athleticism to stay in front of many different profiles as long as they don't outweigh him by too many pounds. He has the lateral quickness and instincts to become a lockdown defender at the next level. And with his 6'8" frame, we are likely to see him defending power forwards.
Win.
But I think there's extra motivation here when you look at all the executives in the
Ron Holland with the swat.
But the good news is that switching is never going to be a problem for him. He can contain guards just fine with his 6'11" wingspan. Also, his average of 2.5 steals per game in the G League was the second best in the entire league. He's a continuous threat in the passing lanes, and he's also able to convert those steals into points with his incredible transition game. So, does this kid have any weaknesses? Well, let's be honest. There are quite a few major weaknesses in his game that arguably make him start from a lower floor. The first is his efficiency. Yes, Holland is a player that, as we've said, can create his own shot in many possible ways, but his percentage from long range and mid-range is not the best. In fact, it could even be considered his biggest weakness. At Ignite, he averaged 24% on three-pointers with 3.6 attempts per night, which is a pretty high volume for such a low percentage. Even though he shot little from mid-range, his percentages are pretty weak. He only made 40% of his shots from 15 to 19 feet and 21.7% on shots from 20 to 24 feet. However, his free throw percentage is pretty solid at 76% on 5 attempts per game, as his slasher ability allows him to draw fouls with ease. However, with respect to the average talent in the NBA, he'll have to improve a lot until his creation is efficient by league standards. Related to this problem is his other weakness, which is his shot selection. The player profile he represents should be extremely efficient, simply because of his ability to finish in the paint, but he's not, for the simple reason that Holland takes shots that many other players would not take. This wouldn't be a problem if he was already a great scorer from all three levels, but as we've seen, this is still a work in progress.
Holland rising up for three, knocks it down. Holland's up to 28 to lead the way for Ignite.
The 44% he shot from the field in his 14 G League games seems poor for the best slasher in the draft. On the other hand, Ron often suffers from tunnel vision. Yes, he can generate advantages for himself off drives, handoffs, or even isolations, but many times he's only able to take advantage of it for himself. He doesn't have the court vision of an elite player, and the truth is that sometimes he's a bit of a ball hog. In the NBA, defenses will use that aspect against him if he's not able to improve as a creator. Decision-making is probably the aspect that'll make him suffer the most in the best league in the world. Ron Holland is a fascinating prospect, and here's why. He has the potential to make an immediate impact on any team that drafts him. His defensive prowess alone should earn him significant minutes on virtually any roster. However, there's a catch: his shooting from long range. If he doesn't improve his three-point shooting, it'll be challenging for him to become a crucial piece of a playoff-bound team. Look at Josh Giddey as an example. The NBA is an incredibly tough league, and unless you're a defensive center, you need to stretch the floor. Right now, Holland doesn't quite meet that requirement, but if he can develop his perimeter game, watch out. His potential is sky high. A very common Holland comparison is Tari Eason. The Rocket Slasher showed potential during his rookie year with a similar style of play, although he missed most of this season due to injury. Other profiles like Josh Hart are also mentioned when talking about NBA projections. However, if Holland works on his shooting and decision-making, his ceiling could be much higher. Something similar to Andrew Wiggins or even Mikal Bridges could be his comparisons in the best-case scenario. However, if he doesn't progress in those aspects, his style of play could even take him out of the league sooner than we think. Just as his ceiling is higher than many players in the draft, his floor could be considered one of the lowest in the lottery. We've seen cases of incredibly good defensive players not getting regular minutes because of their inability to stretch the floor. Ron also doesn't have the basketball IQ to make up for this with other strengths of his game. Without a doubt, Ron Holland is one of the most intriguing prospects in this draft. Drafting him might seem risky if you're after more than a slasher with defensive potential, but the reality is he's just a few refinements away from becoming an above-average player at the next level. His future hinges on his work ethic and how quickly he can grasp the nuances of the game. If he can elevate those aspects, Ron has the potential to emerge as one of the top 5 prospects in the class of 2024. Keep an eye on him, folks. He's got the talent and drive to make it big.